Where about your business right now? From zero before you start and then to having your first 3 to 4 units and to now, what is your portfolio? What's your business right now?
So at the moment I've got around 12 units. A lot of them are rent to rents from friends and family. And I've also got 2 units myself. My partner's also got a unit herself. So ultimately, we're probably generating around £40,000 income per month.
You talk about £500,000 turnover business created from zero to less than kind of like 2 years. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Vanessa.
Nice to see you.
And you too.
So thanks for joining me today. And just before we start, could you give a brief overview and introduction about yourself, where you're from and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Mike. I'm from Harrogate and the Leeds area. I qualified as an accountant about 8-9 years ago now. But 4 years ago, I met Vanessa, started my property journey, and now I have 12 or 13 service accommodation units and run my business full time. Everything's been going really well, and fortunately through the success of the business I've been able to purchase my own properties now as well. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent. So just we wanted to recap the journey that you started about 4 years ago when we first met. At the time, what was your circumstances?
My circumstances were I was newly qualified accountant. My salary still wasn't great. I was working for a not-for-profit organisation, had a young family, 2 girls, a wife that wasn't working either. So financially my situation was a bit of a struggle. Then obviously
that's where we met.
That's when we met.
Yeah.
At the same time I was in a job that I was very depressed in. It wasn't a nice environment that I was in at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Very stressful, lots of hours and just not enough free time. And obviously when I met you, one of my goals was to create a bit more financial freedom, have a bit more money, have a bit more time to spend with family. And yeah, here I am now.
That's great. So at the time, I remember you were just finishing off one of the training with someone else and who you were writing a lot of handwritten letter. And you were telling me that, I'll do everything apart from writing, handwritten letters. I remember that. So, we don't do handwritten letter, we don't do leafleting. So then you start. Just wanted you to share a bit of the reason why at the time you decided to join the training with me. What was the motivation?
I think when I initially started that other training, it was only a 3-day course. At the time, I didn't have any money to invest in a property course, and I wanted to self-educate, and I was following a rent-to-rent step-by-step guidebook on how to get HMOs and, like you say, writing lots of letters to HMO landlords hoping they'd rent me their property. I think going back to what I said earlier, what kind of drove me towards you is that at that time I was very unhappy in my work, my life. I just knew there was going to be something more. I'd already had that failed strategy, and when I met you, understanding that I could have this with only 2 properties rather than 8 HMOs, it was very attractive to me. Obviously I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I knew I knew I could do this pretty quickly with you by my side.
Thank you. So then you started the training, and then a bit of struggling, and we walked through all the obstacles. Towards the first 3 months, I remember you got 4 rent-to-rent. And then that started creating some good income.
Yeah, I think the first couple of months, it was a real struggle for me. As you will know, I wasn't very good at selling myself. I was never in a sales background. I really struggled to acquire my first rent-to-rent. But obviously, as we kind of rehearsed and practiced and I listened to your advice, I was able to secure three rent-to-rents after 3 months.
About, I think 3-4 rent-to-rent in the first 3-4 months. Yeah. Which is very quickly.
Yeah. And yeah, so that went brilliantly.
Yeah, so the initial success with getting this rent-to-rent, get it all set up and start to making profit, how does it impact you for your life and the business?
Yeah, it was a lot of it was confidence. So obviously before, when I tried to acquire the HMOs, I'd sent so many letters, tried so many times to just get one property, and it took me a very long time to get nothing. So just being with you and your mentorship, getting a couple of properties in my portfolio, learning as I kind of go along, it did a lot for my confidence, and I knew going forwards I would be successful. But unfortunately, we then went into COVID. Yeah, so it started off well, and then it kind of petered out. But obviously, you gave me the encouragement to keep going, and keep my units and carry on building my portfolio. Yes. And during that COVID period, we were then able to buy a really nice 4-bed property, and that pretty much replaced my salary instantly. And so it was quite fortunate because I got made redundant, and it's probably the best thing that happened, because I may have never have taken a step otherwise. And now I've got free time, got more money, and everything's much better. Excellent.
So just that you're the kind of person that works so really hard for what you really wanted to do. And I remember in 2021 when you started buying houses, those houses taking a long time to complete. And then eventually that day comes through, and then you decide to just stay on for another year for training at a time. So you did one training program with me for about a year, and then you carry on to the second. Can you just share a little bit of experience that what the difference for the first year training and the second year training, what does it bring into you and the business?
Yeah, I think the first year training was obviously one-to-one mentorship. A lot of the focus was on acquiring the right kind of property. Obviously, I wanted to move quickly, so you could only give me maybe half the information that I probably needed.
Because you need the focus.
Because I needed to focus. And obviously there's just so much to learn, but then when you acquire 3 units fairly quickly, you just need to know a little bit about everything, like the sales and marketing, the pricing strategy, the property layout, and I think it was we kind of skimmed over it. Obviously we did it the right way, and we got the properties and they were making cash flow, but then I think it was the second year where we could actually learn a little bit more about all of the systems, and go into a lot more depth around branding and marketing, and kind of I could then relate that information a lot easier because I had my own properties.
You're already running it.
So first year was just a whirlwind, trying to learn as quickly as I can. Second year was where I could relax and absorb more information.
So to you then, how important is to continue learning in that journey to you think that makes the difference in the business?
Yeah, I think it's very important to make sure that if you're running a business, you need to make sure that you can run that as efficiently and as well as possible. And even in the second year, you were still purchasing properties,
Yes.
doing more rent to rent, scaling up. And when you're scaling up, you need more information on how to build a team.
Yes.
So every step of the way, it's definitely useful to continue your education, to better your business in the long term. And yeah, I feel after 2 years, you start understanding the processes and everything a little bit more. You might be able to experiment a little bit more yourself as well, but you definitely need that platform, that base of information to kind of grow from.
So it's to build a foundation first, making
Exactly.
sure you understand what you're working on,
Yes.
and then you scale it with the speeds.
Yes.
Second year, cool. So where about your business right now? From zero before you start, and then to having your first 3 to 4 units, and to now, what is your portfolio? What's your business right now?
So at the moment, I've got around 12 units. A lot of them are rent to rents from friends and family. And I've also got 2 units myself. My partner's also got a unit herself. So ultimately, we're probably generating around £40,000 income per month.
You talk about £500,000 turnover business, created from zero to less than kind of like 2 years.
That's the turnover, and that's increasing at the moment because we are taking on some management properties, and it's just diversifying our portfolio a little bit and adding different strings to our bow. And we help source properties, we help set up properties, we do interior design. There's lots of additional income that we're now generating. So
just out of this sort of like 40k a month, what sort of percentage of the expenditure than the profit, gross profit that you're doing?
Yeah, obviously each property is a little bit different, but our profit margin probably is looking at around 30%.
So 30% profit.
Yeah,
gross profit.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the investment that you're putting in for now, what do you reckon the training, the education so far? At which point that you have paid off?
Oh well, had it not been for COVID, it would have been paid off within the first 7-8 months.
Yeah, 7 months. Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't just the investment in the mentorship; it was investing in the properties, the furnishing, and things like that. Although you did teach us how to outsource, well, not outsource, but finance that in different ways.
Sure.
But yeah, when I first met you, you told me that I could earn back what it cost me in mentorship in one property, and ultimately that was the case.
Which you did. Yeah, cool. So what do you like about the training so far, all this time that you've been with us? What do you enjoy most?
I think obviously my first year was one-to-one mentorship, and I enjoyed that because it was very focused on what I needed there and then. The second year was really good because there's a really nice community of people. You meet lots of friends like Claire and Jim.
And she's done really well as well.
Yeah. Everyone's doing well, and it's nice to follow everyone else's journey. And I think when you're in a bigger group, you also understand challenges that other people are going through, and you think, oh, that could actually happen to me.
Yes.
And sometimes it does, but because someone else has experienced that challenge, then we know how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's a lot more comfortable when you come across that, because someone else have come across and resolving the issues that now you can see the outcome and the resolution out of it. That's great. So, in terms of the business so far, you have quite successful business now with a very good portfolio, and you continue moving the business so far. What do you say to the people who brand new, like you first starting out and thinking about maybe or maybe not? So, have you had any reservation at the time? You remember when you first started?
Yeah, I had huge reservations, mainly because, no offence, the mentorship was very expensive. But I think ultimately I knew it's something I needed to do. And if you throw yourself into it and work hard, put 100% effort into it where you can. I was still working at the time as well, but in my spare time I was making sure I was going to viewings and things like that. And like you said, one property deal or one rent to rent, it will pay for your entire mentorship. And if you're then getting 3 or 4 rent to rents in that year, then the return on investment from the mentorship is
absolutely
really good. And not just that first year, it's you're building a business for life. Exactly. Not just for that year. So that initial investment has paid itself back 10-fold, 20-fold. Yeah. Whatever it might be.
Absolutely. Cool. So what would you say to the people who is still thinking about it?
I would say you do just need to take action. If you are 100% sure that this is what you want and you know that you're going to put the effort in, then Vanessa will help you make it work. I put my mentorship on my credit card to start off with. But
I did the same when I started investing.
But it's all paid off now, and I don't even think about that. It's just moving forward, and I wouldn't be where I am today without your mentorship and your help.
Absolutely. So you've done so really well, and what's your business moving forward look like?
Yeah, so as you know, I do have quite a few rent-to-rents. I'm fortunate that some of them are really long-term with friends and family. I've got a couple of my owned properties now, but ultimately for my business moving forward, it will be to keep increasing my wealth by purchasing properties rather than doing more rentals. Making sure that I get the right stock, which is really going to give me good cash flow, and just keep building that way.
Lovely. Thanks very much, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Vanessa.